Going to be to talk about this opportunity that we have just released. It's an application for agencies and systems and jurisdictions to work together with support from us at the Grandfamilies and Kinship Support Network. So most of our hour together is going to be question and answer. Kylie Craggett on our staff will introduce herself in a minute, is going to go through the kind of the requirements for the application, the basics. And then we really want to hear from you all and what your questions and concerns and any issues that you have. And we will spend, as I say, the bulk of our time together doing that. In the meantime, we're going to we'll let Kylie kind of go through her thing and makes all the slides before we take questions, so that you can see what is and isn't addressed. But if if a question occurs to you as she's speaking, please feel free to type it into the chat, because I know for myself, if someone's talking and I think of a question, sometimes 10 minutes later, I've forgotten it. So feel free to add it to the chat and we'll get to it in that Q&A period, but I won't interrupt her. I'm going to facilitate the questions. I won't interrupt her flow until she's through. But as I say, it will only be about 15 minutes or so. So at any rate, all of that said, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to let us know who you are in the chat, and we will get started. And I will tell you a little bit about us for those who may not know yet. Next slide, please. We are the Grandfamilies and Kinship Support Network. We're the first federally supported technical assistance center on the families. And I say on the families because we do not directly support the families. Our mission is to work with nonprofit agencies and government systems around the country to better support the families, because we know that communities do that best, because the laws, the programs, the services, they all vary so much. So what we're trying to do is really elevate good things happening in certain parts of the country so that other people can learn from it and better support these families, and that we can have an impact not just now, but well into the future. So that is our mission. We're just started year 3 of this work together, and that's what we call our umbrella right there, that graphic. And those are the 8 government systems that we focus on. So that when Kylie talks about our umbrella, that is what she's talking about. Next slide, please. We're doing this work with 5 national partners, a couple of whom are with us today, but they will all be part of this work ongoing. Child Trends is our evaluator, so they will be working in each of the selected jurisdictions to kind of assess how the project is going and how our TA is supporting and the like. The National Indian Child Welfare Association is another one of our partners, and they are going to be doing a very similar, very similar process for a tribe or a tribal organization. But today's opportunity is just open to states, territories, and large counties. And Kylie will get into that. But do know that there will be an opportunity for a tribe or a tribal organization coming soon. The National Caucus and Center on Black Aging will be supporting this work, as will U.S. Aging, as will 0 to 3. So we're blessed with great partners, as you can see there. And then on the next slide, we have a whole cadre of subject matter experts who, depending on what the jurisdiction wants to work with, we will engage them as the issues that you self-identify arise. So you can see we have a really rich array of experts, including 2 with lived experience who are grandparents raising grandchildren themselves and work in nonprofits and consulting with organizations around the country, including serving on our management committee. So a real richness of expertise in the kinship and grandfamilies realm. And I should say that we use those 2 terms interchangeably to mean grandparents, other relatives, and close family friends who raise children. So when we say grandfamilies, we don't just mean grandparents. Next slide, please. Amongst the things we do is we host webinars. We do not consider today a webinar. Today is an informational meeting, but we just had a webinar recently on support groups, and we try to have a monthly webinar on a topic that impacts the families. We respond to individual requests for help. So if an agency has a question about who's got a great housing program with services on site for the families, Kylie or her colleague Shayla will get back to you with those resources and with ideas. And we have a website that hosts all of our resources, and we have upwards of, I think it's close to 100 now, right, Melissa? We have a lot. And then what we're talking about today is finally on the next slide, which is kind of the fourth pillar of what we're up to as part of this Technical Assistance Center work, which is working intensely for 2 years in 3 jurisdictions. Again, one is the tribe. So today we're really just talking about two jurisdictions for 2 years to support them on their goals, to work cross-system, and to improve services and supports for the families. And we will be there all the steps of the way. And then we, the network staff, will write up our work together and share it with others so that they can learn from what we've learned together. So it's my pleasure now to turn it over to Kylie Craggett, one of our 2 technical assistance specialists. So Kylie, turning it to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Anna. Hi, everyone. As Anna mentioned, my name is Kylie Craggett, and I am one of the technical assistance specialists with the Grandfamilies and Kinship Support Network. Next slide. And I wanted to share a little bit today about the initiative that Anna was speaking about so that we can hopefully go through some of the goals and objectives that were released last week on our website when we released the overview of the project along with the application. I'm going to go through the criteria, the expectations of the applicants, as well as what you can expect from us as the network if you choose to apply. And then we'll provide a lot of time at the end for questions and answers, as that is the bulk of what we will be doing today. So the goal of this initiative is to help jurisdictions identify and meet self-determined goals to work cross-system to the benefit of kinship and grand families. Next slide. The 4 objectives that we have outlined for this project is creating high-impact partnerships across systems. So when we talk about systems, we're referencing the umbrella of systems that Anna mentioned earlier. And then optimizing the effectiveness of your programs and services for kinship families. We recognize that each of you already have wonderful programs and services for kinship families, and we want to work with you along with our experts and our partners and subject matter experts to continue to grow and optimize those programs and services across systems. And our third objective is to implement diversity, equity, and inclusion practices with a particular focus on supporting kin caregivers and children who are Black, Indigenous, Latino, and or living in underserved and rural areas. And lastly, but certainly not least important, is amplifying voices of those with lived experience. So you'll see as we go through the criteria that we are going to ensure that voices with lived experience are paramount and front and center of this initiative. Next slide. As Anna mentioned earlier, we will be, at this time, this initiative will take place in 2 jurisdictions, which could be in a state, a territory, or a large county. For the purpose of this project, we are defining a large county as a population of 500,000 or more and administering their own human services. And then later, most likely in December, our partner, National Indian Child Welfare Association, NICWA, they will be releasing a separate application that will be specific for a tribe or a tribal organization. So in total, we will be working with 3 jurisdictions. 2 will be a state, territory, or large county, and the 3rd will be a tribe or tribal organization. And there will be more information coming out later that we will be publicizing regarding the application for a tribe. Next slide. All right, let's talk a little bit about the criteria to qualify. And again, all of these can be found on our website in the overview that's been shared in the chat. But the first criteria is that the lead agency, so the lead applicant, must be a state, a large county, or territorial government agency focused on an area or multiple areas in our network umbrella. So again, those networks, those systems are aging, child welfare, disability, education, housing, Medicaid, Medicare, nutrition, and TANF. So a wide array of different systems focused on one or multiple of those. Next slide. The second criteria is that the project team must be committed to cross-system partnership, right? That's exactly what we're here for. And so that will include, at the time of submitting your application, that you have identified one other government agency to be a part of this project with you, and that they will be from a different system. So if you are with aging, then they can be with child welfare, a different system to promote that cross-system collaboration. You will see in the application that we are asking for an example of how you have begun to engage cross-system partnerships. The expectation is not that this is done flawlessly or perfectly, but that there has been some type of thought gone into this previously. Secondly, that there will be a community-based nonprofit who has jurisdiction-wide impact that you are including in your application. And we can talk more about that if you have specific questions about what that could look like. And then lastly, that you have identified 2 lived experts in kinship care who will be a part of this project with you and commit to be a part of this project for the duration. So those 2 lived experts could be individuals who grew up in kinship care. They could be kinship caregivers or grandfamilies, or a biological parent whose child was raised by a relative. Next slide. The expectations from you as the lead agency is to commit to work for 2 years on this project with us, to implement an action plan and to develop and implement an action plan, to enhance services to kinship families. And with that commitment, that 2-year commitment, it will include monthly meetings where the whole project team, including the network, will get together and be able to move your action plan forward. And then that 2 staff members from your agency and each partner agency is identified to work effort. When we talk about identifying 2 staff members, we are asking that one of those staff members have decision-making authority within your agency. So that is going to range depending on what your agency is, but will likely look like mid-management to upper management for at least one of those staff members. And the reason why is that we are looking to effect change. And so in order to carry through with that action plan, we do have to have some changes made that we need some decision-making authority with. Next slide. Continuing with expectations is ensuring that the team that you have put together is also willing to participate in monthly meetings and act on some of those identified tasks monthly. So we are asking that as the lead agency, you will help carry the other agencies along, as well as the lived experts who will be engaged in the meetings and in the ongoing work. I do want to note that the network will be compensating lived experts for their time, and that will be discussed with each agency on a case-by-case basis. And lastly, we'll be collaborating with Child Trends, who Anna mentioned earlier, is one of our partners and our evaluator, who will be helping assess and document the site progress throughout the 2 years of this project. Next slide. Commitments from us. So what you can expect from us as the network is that we will be providing in-depth ongoing assistance free of charge to you. And this is with some of the nation's leading kinship experts. So Anna shared our subject matter experts and our partners earlier. You can find a list of all of our subject matter experts on our website. These are individuals who just bring a wealth of knowledge and information from a variety of systems to the kinship space. And many of them will be involved in this project for varying time lengths and capacity throughout the duration of the project. We will also designate a network staff lead to serve as a point of contact to ensure that there's ongoing communication. We will be facilitating monthly meetings and serve as a resource between meetings for you. And then we'll provide on-site technical assistance up to 2 times a year. And we'll work with you and with your team in scheduling this to ensure that it can optimize the best time for each of us to be able to come and provide TA in your space. And lastly, as I mentioned, we will provide compensation to lived experts. Next slide. So the project timeline for this is we are currently in the application. These applications are being accepted now and will be accepted throughout all of December and January up until January 2024. That seems like a long time away, but I know we're going to blink and it's going to be here. And then in February, we will be reviewing applications, and we're going to schedule a 60-minute virtual interview with every lead applicant who submits a complete application. And then in March of 2024, we will notify applicants of decisions, and we will launch the project at that time with the 2 selected jurisdictions. Next slide. All right, so we are going to move to a time of Q&A. I know that was a lot of information, and it was a lot of information really fast. And probably a lot of it feels very vague to you because there is so much that is going to be unique to each of you in your individual systems, your individual states, counties, territories. So we want to provide a time based on that information or any other questions you have for you to engage with us and ask questions as you consider applying for this initiative. So you can feel free to take yourself off mute and ask the question or type it in the chat.
Hi, Kylie. Could you please define a county with jurisdiction? Could you just tell me what jurisdiction and what that means?
Yeah, so a county, a large county we are defining as a population of 500,000 or and administering their own human services.
So Christy, knowing that you're in Ohio, you're considered one of those counties. I don't know the size of your county, but
I think our counties are too small.
oh, okay.
Hi, Kylie. Thanks so much for providing that overview. It was really helpful. Would you be able to provide an example of an ideal, like from start to finish? Could you provide that example of what you are looking for potentially and what the possible technical assistance may be? That might be too broad of a question, but I'm just looking for an example of what, what the ideal situation is and what you're looking for.
Anna, do you want to take that one?
The ideal situation. Well, I think, it's going to look different. But we're so unique around the country, right? But I would say some of the features would be, we don't necessarily want to work with a jurisdiction that has been doing this for years and has all the boxes checked. We also don't necessarily want to work with a jurisdiction that is so new. That said, we will consider both of those ends, but I think in terms of the ideal would be someone who's got a commitment to working across systems, who's done some of it, who's got partners that are very committed to kinship families, who's used to working with lived experts or open to working with lived experts and really meaningfully engaging them as part of the process, and who's got the commitment to move on the action steps that are developed together.
Great, thank you.
I had a quick question too. When I was talking with my team about this, there was some curiosity about this being tied to any sort of being evaluated through the clearinghouse or anything like that. Was that an end step or an end piece of this at all?
We can kick that question over to Berenice from Child Trends. The short answer is no, but Berenice, I defer to you for a more intelligent answer.
No, yes, that I agree with the short answer. Yeah, so we are not going to be doing an evaluation that would be able to be put a program on the clearinghouse or include a submission. Well, really, our role is more to evaluate how the network is meeting its objectives. So, the objectives of helping you and your partners effectively collaborate across government systems to better serve families. So our evaluation is not going to be about a specific program or about specific outcomes. It's more how the technical assistance enhances collaboration across systems. And if the technical assistance provided was responsive to the needs of the site, and then also what are some of the facilitators and barriers that to providing and receiving technical assistance. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate the clarification.
You know, and I think in terms of some of the, positive outcomes for these jurisdictions is that we will be writing up our experiences together and hopefully holding it out as an exemplary model of cross-system collaboration so that you can, you'll have bragging rights. You'll have bragging rights with the feds, with your state, which, can enhance funding and the like too. So even though it won't be in the clearinghouse as such, because the Title 40 Prevention Services Clearinghouse really is aimed at child welfare services primarily, and we are thinking broader than that in terms of working across many systems that impact families.
And I think, Anna, that answers Brandy's question in the chat about overall goals and benefits. And so the benefit is, yes, other than the cross-system collaboration to benefit kinship families, from a funding perspective, the ability to kind of have the designation of being exemplary in your practice.
Really giving you all the tools to leverage your resources and maximize your impact on the families, because we found for 20 years now, I've gone into states and I'll talk to child welfare agencies as an example, and they don't know that there's this National Family Caregiver Support Program that's run out of area agencies on aging that can provide, say, support groups, along with other things, to the caregivers who are age 55 plus, and they can often serve younger using other funding sources. So just knowing that, then maybe the child welfare agency doesn't have to offer its own support groups, right? It can partner with aging and it can use its money to do something else. So it's all about figuring out who's got what and working together better. There's a question in here from Ms. Blanchard. Do you want to come off mute and explain? Because I'm not quite sure if I get the question.
I'm sorry.
No.
I just wanted to make sure you said you have to be a large county and have your own human services agent, jurisdiction, not a large county or have your own jurisdiction. And the reason I'm asking is because we don't fit the 500,000 criteria.
Yeah, it's and. Now, that said, we are blessed with ACL as our funders, and it's a very cooperative, no pun intended, relationship. So I would think that if you had a neighboring county and the two of you make up to 500,000 and you have real parallels across systems, and it would make sense for you to work together as two counties, then we would be open to that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. And the reason I'm really interested in this is we do have an understanding with our local DSS, our county DSS, I should say. And but we've had a contract for a year and we really haven't received any referrals. So, and they seem invested in it. They wanted us to go for training, for family group conferencing. They wanted us to be, partner with them. And yet there just doesn't seem to be buy-in on their side. So that's
and I think a lot of what we're seeing these days too is a lot of turnover. So
yes.
People who may have bought in are not there anymore, So.
That and just the amount of the caseload. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Joan Witherspoon Norris with the Alabama Network of Family Resource Centers. And I was wondering, it might be hard to answer this, but can you give a ballpark number for like the time commitment during that 24-month period from the lead agency and the lead, I guess, State Department and others?
Holly, you want to take a shot at that?
Yes, I don't know that I can give a ballpark. So it'll be, I mean, the monthly meetings, of course. And then I would say identified tasks between, I mean, I'm hesitant to give an hour estimate because it will include a lot of resource development, a lot of meeting with other systems, which can be kind of to each their own as far as how those relationships are developed. But I would think that there would probably be, I mean, do you want to say 5 to 10 hours weekly? Does that seem on a?
Yeah, I would say that would be the top end, you know, and then when
Mhm.
we're on site, it would be, but yeah, that would be the top end for non-on-site, on-site weeks would be my, yeah, that's a pretty good guess. You know, it's like Kylie said, it depends on what the goals are of the jurisdiction. You know, who's gonna do what. But there will be homework between each monthly meeting for sure, for everybody involved, yeah. I hope you noticed that, one of our subject matter experts is Andrew Russo from Family Resource Centers. So yeah, and I've known about you all in Alabama for a long time, so pleasure to meet you.
Thanks so much.
If I could just chime in about the time frame, it might not be that each partner agency has to do all that at the same time, right? Like the aging group might be working on something right now, and then somebody else is working on something at some other time. So it's not necessarily going to be consistently everybody working those same number of hours all the time. It's really a ballpark figure.
That's a good point, Melissa.
It
Yeah.
is, and by nature of a project that is this long of 2 years, then of course there'll be certain weeks and months that will be more intensive for certain people. So that's our non-answer for you.
We did do an estimate, as I recall, Melissa, for the lived experts, because we were budgeting for that, and so that would probably give us a good indication of what we're thinking for the others as well.
Yeah, I think we figured about 4 hours a month for those with the lived experience, depending on their role. I mean, some lived experts also work in the field, so they might be able to do, provide even more input and support, but we really want to engage them. So between attending the monthly meetings and then just providing support and, reviewing policies, reviewing documents, then talking to other caregivers, leading some kind of focus groups with other caregivers. I mean, it could be a lot of different things, but I think we averaged about 4 hours a month for those individuals.
And again, all of this is kind of guesstimate because it will so depend on the jurisdiction and what the goals are.
There's some questions in the chat.
Yeah. Work for an agency, but I've recently adopted 5 children that I was a kin provider for. Am I able to be the staff lead as well as a lived expert? Absolutely. That's we're always I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ill, so my thoughts are not coming out like they normally do. But at any rate, we're always extolling the virtues of having lived experts on staffs and directing projects. I was just visiting a program where the lead lawyer raised her grandson, and that's just, it adds so much more value. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Somebody was asking a question in the chat about, I guess maybe the question is can what role can a nonprofit organization play? Is that what the question is, Kamika?
Yes, I am. Yes, ma'am, it was. We were just trying to get more information on, was a kinship care provider as well in my family. And now I have a organization here in Dallas, Texas, that provides support to kinship families. And I just want to know, because right now we on volunteer base, our board are very committed to the organization. And I know y'all kept saying staff. Do it have to be paid staff, or could it be, like I was saying a while ago, volunteer services for individuals that has experience being a kinship provider?
Do you want to take that, Kylie?
Yes, so the lead applicant on this project would be a government system or a large county. However, as a nonprofit, you then could connect with those lead applicants to partner with them in this. And so if you know of a government agency in Dallas, for instance, who would be interested in this initiative, then speaking with them about this to, go in together and apply for this would definitely work. We really want a nonprofit involved in this, and that is something that we noted in the criteria as important to us, because we see the value that nonprofits do. They are in many ways the great connector between these systems. And so, yes, as a nonprofit, absolutely, you can be of value in assistance. It would be that you would need to be connected with a government system or a large county in order to apply.
Okay, so that was the question that I had. I'm Nakasha Graves, and I'm with the Texas Alliance of Child and Family Services. And I actually just started with them in October. So please do not ask me what all we do, because I'm still learning. But that was the question that I had, and pretty much wanted to clarify was that I would have to connect with one of the regions here to see who would be willing to commit, and we could apply together. Is that how it would work? Or would it have to be two people from the department, or could it be someone from the department that makes decisions and myself, or someone at the Alliance that is in management to be able to apply for the application?
Yes, so it will be two people from each agency. So if a region in Texas, if let's say, DFPS is wanting to apply, then they would apply with two people, one of whom had decision-making ability. And then the Alliance could be the partner organization who would also have two people designated for the project. Does that clarify?
Yeah, so a total of 4 people, one person from each that's in management, and the capacity was 500,000.
So that would be for a state who administers their own human services. Yes.
Okay.
That would be the county size.
Okay.
But it could be in most states, or many states, it'll be any government system within that state.
Got it. Okay.
And the 500,000 is the minimum, right? It's not the maximum. Could be bigger.
Correct.
Okay, that's the minimum. Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
And if you have specific on that as you're looking at the application and talking to other organizations, please reach out to us, because we recognize that in a call of this size with this many people and unique experiences, it's hard to provide all of the clarifying information. And so if at any point then you want to come and speak to us, please do.
And I don't know how many of you have looked at the application yet, but we've intentionally designed it to be rather light lift. And obviously we want you to think about who your agencies would be and answer the questions that are there, and then we'd have that hour-long interview. So we don't want to burden you with a lot of work up front. The action plan development and all that will happen after we start working with you. So it's not like you're applying for what we did when we applied for our technical assistance center, which was hours upon hours of work. I mean, this shouldn't take more than 30 minutes to do this application once you've got your people in mind.
Right. The legwork here is identifying who your partner organizations will be.
Yeah.
And letting them know that that you are putting their name down.
Yeah. And for the lived experts, if you don't have names yet, you can just indicate a commitment to do that. And we can also help with that because we have at Generations United National Network of Caregiver Advocates that's about 80 strong now. Gail Engel, who I see on the call, is one of our grand voices. And there are lots of others like her that I'm sure would be ready, willing, and able to step up to help the jurisdiction in which they live and work.
There's a question here from Alyssa. If you'd like, I can read it. If we as a kinship navigator nonprofit wanted to work with Indian Affairs, would that go through the NICWA application?
That's a great question, Alyssa. And I don't know if you noticed in the overview section, we actually, anticipate that some states will want to work with, the tribal liaisons and the Office on Indian Affairs within their state. And if the lead is a state agency, and you're one of the nonprofits, definitely the Indian Affairs could be one of the agencies as well, and it could go through this process. If it's a tribe as the lead applicant, then that would need to go through NICWA, but we can definitely, and we want to help states work and collaborate better with their tribal partners too. If that's a goal. I mean, some states don't have that many tribes, but other states it's really important. Is there a goal for the collaborate info after the 2 years, a publication or resource to be distributed? You want to take that one, Kylie?
Yes, so Child Trends will be evaluating, and they'll work with us after the 2 years to document what we've done and really elevate so that others can replicate it. And then you'll also receive the national recognition as a jurisdiction that works cross system. So we'll be absolutely putting, your state or jurisdiction's information and the work you've done, along with the write-up on our website and distributing that.
Yeah, I don't know if many of you know, but we have this exemplary kinship program process that has been going on as well, where individual programs, not cross-system collaboratives, have been applying to be considered kinship exemplary, and we're in that process. And the goal here is that these two jurisdictions will be exemplary examples of cross-system collaboration, so they will be written up and shared in that way, and held up as that's the goal. That's what we hope to achieve.
Thank you.
Any other questions? These are all really, really good.
Yeah, let me know if we've missed anything in the chat. Feel free to come off, off your mute.
Melissa put my information and my email address in the chat. So if you want to save that information, and then if any questions arise as you are considering this, talking to your team about it, talking to other agencies about it, please feel free to send me an email and we can discuss your specific needs a little bit more in depth.
I'm wondering, Kylie, if it'd be helpful if we just took a quick look at the application. If people would like to see it. I can't show you all the fillable one that's in Microsoft Word because you have to fill it in before it'll advance. So I would be filling in a bunch of blank stuff. But I can share the one that's in Word to show you kind of the kinds of questions that we're asking. Kyle, I'll just scroll while you talk about it. So basically this is just the overview. And then when they're due, and the business about NICWA having a separate application, but then here is the application.
Yes, so as Anna said, we are trying to make this a light lift for you, so you're not spending an entire 15 hours on it. So top of the application is your information as the lead agency. So providing your, address, website, the staff contact information, and then selecting the system that best for your agency. And we have all of them listed for you to select. And then scrolling down a little bit. Question 3, we'll be sharing the name and title of an additional staff member who will commit to participating in this project. So you, as the person filling it out, will be one identified staff member, and the other person listed here will be the second one. And then we want you to provide for the staff member 2 examples of how their work directly touches kinship focus supports. And that's very general, so you can put in there any 2 examples that you think best elevate the work that they have done. And then general information on your agency. We want you to briefly share an overview of your agency's kinship services. We are not looking for your entire program or policy manual here. Just two paragraphs approximately of who you serve, how many kinship families are there, how you collect data on kinship families, some of the demographics of kinship families served. And you will have shared your website information with us, so we will look at that as well, but hopefully a little bit on how you were founded, how you started doing this work. And then briefly share why you are interested in this opportunity. And that can be, again, very short. We're not looking for an entire action plan here, but what are you hoping when you look at this from a broad scope? What are you hoping to get out of this? And then question 7, we're looking here for a little bit of information about existing efforts you already have to promote cross-system collaboration. And then some efforts to operate a cross-system framework. This is not a test to see what you've done so far. It's simply that we're wondering what is the starting point? What have you already done? What connections have you made that are valuable that we can then help build off of? And question number 8, the purpose of this question is really wanting to ensure that you are working with both what we call formal kinship families, or families who are involved in the child welfare system, as well as families outside the child welfare system. And so if you have that data, then sharing the percentage of each service population, and then what services you offer to them. Scrolling down, this is where you will share a little bit about the partner agencies. So you will share question number 9, the first partner agency. It's similar to above, their name, contact information, and then the system that best describes the work that they do. You can also note here if this is a nonprofit that you are selecting as your partner organization. And then you would share in question 11, the primary way that your agency currently partners with this agency. And then below questions 12 and 13, that's the exact same. So that's where you're going to share your second, either your second government agency or your nonprofit. So the questions are the exact same there. Question 15 talks about lived experts. And so we're asking that you name 2 kinship caregivers or 2 individuals with lived experience in the kinship space. And if you're able to provide a short biography on the work that they do. But also please note here, as Anna said earlier, if you haven't yet identified lived experts, just indicate a commitment to work with lived experts as we're going through the application review process and designating jurisdictions, then we can help you in identifying lived experts. 16 is going to talk about any other agencies you plan to engage if this project is selected. So maybe they're not going to be on the project team or a lead in this, but who will be engaged in the project alongside you. And then we're asking in question 17 to engage your jurisdiction's Kinship Navigator program if there is one. So if you have that information to share there, that's helpful. And then we're asking for if there is an active kinship coalition or commission in your state or territory. And lastly, just a place for additional information. So if there's anything you feel like you need to share to better support the work that you are doing, or to that will just be relevant or helpful to us as we are reviewing applications, that can be done through sending the information directly to me that will be connected to your application. So that is what we have as far as the application. Guess I would see if that maybe generates any questions based on that information.
So question, Kylie, the other agency that we would get to, would that be like another like nonprofit that specializes in kinship family and working with kinship caregivers? And what would be their commitment? Like, what would they have to do if we identified an agency that would work with us on this?
So you're saying for if it's not a partner agency, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anna, do you want to take that one? Because I'm not sure if we fully discussed that commitment.
I apologize. You're gonna have to repeat it for me. I was multitasking.
No, you're fine. No, she was asking, so we're asking for a list of other agencies that they would engage if selected for the project. So what would the commitment level be from those additional agencies who are not listed on the application as partner agencies?
I understand. You know, again, that would depend on the goals that you identify. So, you know, there wouldn't necessarily be a commitment to attend the monthly meetings, although it would probably be very important too. And the work involved between those monthly meetings would depend on which agency it is. How's that for a non-answer? But, you know, if it's housing and you want to work on them on some discrete piece, like making family unification vouchers available to grandfamilies, that might just be kind of one-off involvements. So,
and I think I would add to that the, you know, the hope and the goal is that we have multiple systems engaged in this project. So while we're starting with asking you to just identify and possibly 2 other systems, the hope is that that grows to actually have good cross-system collaboration. And so while there won't be a, you know, maybe as in-depth of a commitment as we're asking from the lead agency and the partner agency they identify, there definitely will be, you know, some commitment just on the basis of moving the action plan forward.
and do know that what we walked through, that was the Word version just for accessibility purposes, but it isn't a Microsoft form that's just fillable and submittable, which is a little bit easier usually to handle than, you know, creating your own form. But either way, we will happily accept either format for submissions. Are there any other questions? And do know that we're available. Kylie's available for any questions as they occur to you. We know this is early, you know, we had just released the application, but we wanted to, you know, roll it out with answering some of these questions and creating a reporting for other people to access. But we know it's early in the game, so I'm sure you'll have questions as you're putting this together, and we're here to answer them. I see a note from Gail. Gail, did you have something to share?
Just asking you personally if there was, I'd be glad to give an example of how I could see this kind of unfolding if that was helpful to you.
Absolutely, please. Gail Engel is on our management committee and she's one of our grand voices. So go ahead.
Yes. So in my county where I live, I work a lot with my community partners, with my area county Department of Human Services. I work with my Office on Aging. I work with another couple of agencies around, and I could envision my Office on Aging and my Colorado State University, who has created an educational piece for caregivers. So there is a national program, Powerful Tools for Caregivers, which has been revamped by our CSU staff to educate grandparents and relative caregivers in how to care for yourself. And that program then lent to being able to connect those families that took that class with my organization, which is a nonprofit that supports kinship caregivers primarily outside of the child welfare system. And so this kind of program would help us collaborate together and make for a stronger community relationship with those that serve this population.
Thank you, Gail. That's very helpful. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and don't hesitate rather to reach out to any one of us with questions, but particularly to Kylie as our lead. So Kylie, I'll turn to you to close us out.
Thank you everyone for being here, and I look forward to hopefully having further discussions with many of you. So everyone have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, thank you.